Mastering can seem a little mysterious and known only by a few, and although there are certainly different types of mastering, understanding what it is really isn't hard to grasp. Now, like I said before, there are different levels of mastering, and the type we are looking at certainly won't be on the same level as you would be seeing happening at Abbey Road, for instance. However, the principles are the same. Mastering is really the final stage. It's where your song can be polished and brought up to a level that is suitable for radio and other speakers. There are two ways we can approach doing a master. One way, and the most common, is to export the song in the highest possible wave you can and re-import it as a single file and work on the master. This saves PC memory more than anything and prevents any lagging, but with a DAW like X2 and with enough RAM, there is no reason why you can't master in the same window as your mix. In fact, one of my favourite things to do is master as I work. For instance, I will record and mix a verse and chorus, then I will throw a couple of mastering plugins on the master bus to see roughly what the song will sound like at the end. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the mastering effects that we have available to us. We will start with the VC64, otherwise known as the Vintage channel. This plugin does many things, and what it does best is make your mix sound big and punchy. At the moment, we currently have the Master Mix preset on. So to hear the difference this makes, let's turn it off, play the track, and we will turn it back on so you can hear. As you can hear, there is a significant difference, and if you are new to mastering, I do suggest going through presets and seeing what effect they have on the mix. You will learn a lot by doing this. Okay, so what exactly is going on inside the Vintage channel? Let's take a closer look. Okay, the area your eyes are drawn to, and indeed, at least in my opinion, the most important part of this plugin, is the compressor that sits directly in the middle. This compressor can throw you if you are used to using the ones more like the Pro channel offers, but the concept is still the same. At the top left, we have some specific effects we can turn on if we needed to, such as a gate and a de-esser. I don't tend to use the gate that's built in here. I find other gates more satisfying to me, but the de-esser is something everyone should be aware of and use. But of course, the de-esser is something you would use on a single vocal track, for instance, not on a master bus, which is exactly what I did with the main vocals. I used a nice preset called Soft Vocal with Air with the de-esser switched on. You solo the track, sweep the frequency to see where your harsh S's are coming from, then dial in some threshold to get rid of them. It makes the world of difference to your vocals. Over on the right, we have a very different looking EQ, but one that still functions the same way as any other once you get your head around it. We still have our filter, gain, frequency, and Q settings to play with. Another change I've made that you should be aware of is I've done some EQ on the master bus and increased the high band at around 7K. Okay, before we proceed, I would like to make the point of saying that for those of you wanting to get into mastering, please don't think that mastering is something that you can just stick a plugin on and you have instant mastering. Mastering is a process, not one particular tool, and although Vintage Channel is a tool for mastering, it is not, however, the mastering tool. Mastering can be as simple or as complex as you choose to make it. One song may need more than another. You may think that this song has a bit too much bottom end, and that's all that needs doing. Other times you may need to use a multiband and go to town. So I think the idea is that I will load up some of the different plugins that I have used to shape this mix and go through some of the settings. The next plugin I want to talk about really is the Multiband. This is the LP64 Multiband. And what a multiband is a series of compressors that sit along the frequency bands. In this particular multiband, we have 5 bands, each with its own compressor. We go from low, low-mid, mid, high-mid, and high. And of course, this is brilliant for any master bus because when you come to master, you have to look at the mix as one large track. And just the way we use the analyst to find out the frequency of a certain track, we too can do it inside the master bus. Then we use that info to tell us which bands, if any, need some compression. It's perfect for taming down bass-heavy tracks or bringing out an area that was otherwise muddy and indistinct. And of course, each band has its own threshold, attack, release, and ratio settings. The multiband is something you should all look up on, whether you are into mastering or not. So here all I have done is lower and raise the gain on a couple of bands, the low, mid, and high band. Subtle, but all that was needed for this mix. Let's hear a before and after. Now I want to introduce probably the smoothest EQ I've ever heard. It's the LP64 EQ. I highly recommend going through some of the presets on this, as there are some really very good ones. The concept behind this EQ is so simple, it's brilliant. You double click on the line to add a band, and simply drag the node up or down to cut or attenuate. To go through the ins and outs of mastering would need a tutorial twice as long as this one, but the main aspect of it is to mix the track as a whole, and it's your last chance to get the song feeling whole and balanced. Let's hear the song now from start to finish and see how far we have come. I think for this tutorial, we have reached the end. We have come a long way since the start of this tutorial, learning EQing, compression, and other little tips and tricks that I hope you will take away with you and use on your own projects. And remember, mixing is like painting. The plugins and compressors and EQs and limiters are all our paintbrushes, your passion is the paint, and the music is the canvas for all to witness. Go and create something extraordinary, and I will see you next time.